Hi, I'm Greta.
And I'm Claudia. Welcome to Knitters and Critters, where we talk about Critical Role and, of course, our own knitting projects.
Well, I can't wait to talk to you about this week's episode, The Trail and the Toll, because holy crap,
Yep,
things happen.
they did.
Well, the episode kicks off where the last one ended, of course. Imogen and Bertrand are hot on Danas's heels. The gnome is hurrying through the darkening streets of Drusar. And unfortunately, there were some terrible dice rolls pretty early off. Danas sees Imogen following her. She's able to follow Danas to the Weary Way Tavern, but Danas gives her the slip. And Bertrand and Imogen are forced to make a decision. Do they go back or do they stay and try to search Danas out? In the end, they make the decision to go back to find the rest of the crew who are still at the warehouse, hoping that they can get everyone together and back to the tavern where they can find Danas as a group. Meanwhile, back at the aforementioned warehouse, after much hemming and hawing, the group decides to go in after Orem, who is all alone in the dark in a warehouse, and he of course does not have blindsight or night vision or anything. Poor Orem.
I know. I don't think any of them do, right?
Loudna does.
Oh, Loudna
and
does. Okay.
Fern does in some of her wild shapes.
Okay.
So anyway, they break into the warehouse. I mean, they have to fight with the door, always with the doors, these people. But they eventually break in, and they use the privacy of the basically empty warehouse to do some searching around. They enter Danas's office and find some pretty damning information.
Yeah.
Record books there do show that things have been going missing from the warehouse, and those same records have been doctored pretty clumsily, and to minimize the thefts, and all that kind of doctoring is obviously in Danas's handwriting, so it's obvious she's behind the whole getup. It's at this point that Imogen and Bertrand make it back to the warehouse, and the group has a decision to make. Technically, their job is done. Lord Estros hired them to figure out who was behind the thefts, and they've done that. It's obviously Danas. But Estros was willing to throw in a little bonus if they take care of the problem.
Yeah.
He might be a do-gooder, but he was a mercenary first. You can tell in moments like this. The thought of upping their payday is really too good for the group to pass up, and there's no real moral authority to this group, it seems, which I kind of love. Who doesn't love a chaos crew? And they decide, yeah, of course we're going to go to the tavern and try to hunt Danas down and bring her to justice in whatever way that means. When they get to the tavern, though, Danas is nowhere in sight. It's usually at this point that D&D groups go off the rails, but luckily for them, Dorian remembers to use his words. He goes up to the band, asks them if they've seen anything. Some silver changes hands, and what do you know? Danas is upstairs. Remember that. Our adventuring party always forgets to just ask people that are hanging out for answers.
We know nothing.
No.
We know nothing.
What does this street sign mean? Oh, maybe someone who lives here would know.
I know. We need to get better at that.
Use your words. Well, the group heads upstairs to find Danas. Bertrand stays downstairs at the bar to keep an eye on things. Sure, Bertrand, sure. But it's Orem upstairs who first picks up a sign of Danas. He can hear her through a locked door talking to someone, and she's obviously frightened. She keeps saying things like, I think we've been found out. What are we going to do? I'm really worried. And it's at this point that the person she's meeting with says possibly the two least comforting sentences in the English language. Don't worry. Your services are no longer required. At this point, there's a telltale squelch that lets Orem know that someone got stabbed. I mean, a sound like that, you don't need to be able to see through a door to know what's happening.
Yeah.
He tries to break down the door. Again, tries. Seriously, since Campaign 1, doors are the overarching nemesis of this group.
Yes.
Luckily, Ashton is there. He manages to break down the door. They get inside, but they don't see anyone immediately. A voice sounds behind Ashton's shoulder. They turn and find the sallow face of a bearded and kind of sickly-looking dwarf. The fight kicks off immediately. The dwarf might not be much to look at, but he was definitely one hell of an opponent for them. He gets off a lot of really good hits.
Yes.
I think Orem even went down at one point pretty early on. Adding insult to injury, the mysterious dwarf figure summons his children, which turn out to be magically altered shade creepers.
Yeah.
Shade creepers are like the fave version of rats in the city of Drusar. They're everywhere, but these ones have the added bonus, I guess, of exploding when you kill them. Like insult to injury, really.
Yeah.
And on top of everything else, the dwarf also summons a magical darkness, which no one really can see through. I don't even think Loudna was able to see through that.
No, I don't think so.
Or I don't even know if she actually went into it, but it seemed to really befuddle the entire adventuring party, and it allows the dwarf to escape while everyone else is trying to deal with the shade creepers.
Yeah.
When the darkness wears off, they find Danas's body. She's dead. There's no bringing her back at this point. And they also find a mysterious hole in the wall. It's tiny, big enough for Orem to get through, but in an uncharacteristic display of pragmatism, they decide maybe we should rest and heal before we, investigate this strange hole in the wall.
Yeah.
They carry Danas's body back to Lord Estros to tell the ancient lord about what they've learned, about the broomstone and the thefts and the mysterious dwarf. And while Estros doesn't know anything about the dwarf or about the underground broomstone trade, he's very thankful that the group took care of his Danas problem and is interested in formalizing their relationship. He gives them some celebration cake, a bunch of money, and invites them back the next day to formalize their relationship with a contract. Cake. I love that he gave them cake, by the way, totally as an aside. I think any writers or DMs out there, remember to give your side characters little quirks. If you're trying to flesh them out a little bit without using up too much page space, giving them quirks and hobbies that don't necessarily jive with the persona that they project into the world is a good way to make people feel three-dimensional.
Yeah.
But regardless, back to our adventuring party. Some of the party are more serious about the celebration part of the night than others. Most notably, I think, was Bertrand. He went full-on nostalgic old man, getting so wistful that I swear to God at one point I thought, well, he's going to have a stroke and die tonight. I swear. I was like, that's it for Bertrand. He's done.
Yeah.
Well, he may not have had a stroke. He certainly had a good night. Everyone drank, and eventually they all go their separate ways, some to bed, some back home. But Bertrand, being Bertrand, decides to go for a walk. He says to Dorian, who's trying to coax him to come up to bed, that he wants to celebrate some more. He's not quite ready to retire for the evening. But it's also because Bertrand told Imogen he knew where their meetup was going to be the next morning. Well, of course he didn't. It's Bertrand. He just can't help himself. Bertrand goes for a walk, but it's at this point that the narrative cuts to Imogen. Never a good sign.
Yeah.
She's sleeping, dreaming of her home in the fields of Jovan, but there's a storm coming on the horizon. The narrative cuts again, back to Bertrand. He's alone, walking in the dark, and he stops in an alley to relieve himself. Except he's not alone anymore. The dwarf has returned. After a few bandied sentences, Bertrand ends the night with a sword in his chest, while Imogen, in her dream, hears a woman screaming at her to run. She does, because the storm has arrived, crimson and ravenous and enormous. Imogen looks over her shoulder and sees the upright form of Sir Bertrand, proud and tall and whole. With a serene expression, Bertrand walks into the storm and is consumed. Holy crap, Claudia. We've got to break this down.
Yeah.
What do you think about Bertrand's fate? Did you feel like it was coming?
I think so. I do. I love spoilers. I love theories, especially by people that know more than me, which is just about anyone. So, yeah, I knew that there was a possibility that he was just here to sort of be the catalyst to get everyone together.
Yeah.
But it was still heartbreaking. And, kudos to both Travis and Laura.
And Laura.
Because that was just, even though you kind of knew where this was going, I was still on the edge of my seat as they each, went through those final steps. And it was heartbreaking.
And I don't know if you saw it, but Matt Mercer actually tweeted after the show that they kind of knew going in that Bertrand was only going to be around for a few episodes, and that it was actually Travis's idea to kill him off.
Right.
But Travis wasn't supposed to know when exactly that was going to happen.
Okay.
So I think that kind of, it makes sense that Travis was like laying the groundwork and like stepping out on his own like pretty often. Like it seemed like he was trying to like offer the chance to Matt to see is you're going to take it? Is it going to be this time? Is it going to be next time? I think it was like a fitting end for Bertrand. And it was so like, there's just the look of serenity that Matt describes on Bertrand's face. Mm-hmm. And like the dying Abdel. Oh, it was awesome. I loved it so much.
Yeah, it was great. It was great.
Any other highlights of that episode, or how could there be after that?
The shade creepers. Good grief.
Yeah.
I guess these are, these are shade creepers that have leveled up.
Yeah, right.
Because they have red eyes, right?
Yeah, and crazy glowing red eyes. And the normal ones don't explode, I think is what Marisha and Laura were saying.
Yeah, I don't like any sort of creepy, crawly thing. I'm very anti. And creepy crawly things with glowing red eyes. That's even worse.
I just want to know who this dwarf is and why would he come back?
Yeah.
Like what made him want to do that? Was it just like he happened to see Bertrand and just thought, what the hell, I'm gonna get some revenge? Or did he track the party? That could be interesting if he knows where the party is and wants some revenge. And what the broomstone has to do with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of plot threads here that I'm sure, knowing Matt, will all get resolved in a really interesting and compelling way. But this was such a good episode.
It was really good. It was so good. It really was.
Oh, man.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I can't wait for the next episode, but we'll just have to. What are you working on knitting-wise this week?
Well, I did finish my beautiful hat with the Machu Picchu yarn.
That's beautiful.
From Odd Knots and Threads. I'm very happy with this, and I'm gonna get a lot of wear out of this. It has a lot of colors, and
but they coordinate really well.
They coordinate really well. I mean, it's supposed to be sort of the ground and the sea and the mountain side and everything. So it's a beautiful colorway, and and also, this is not super new, but I am wearing my Felix Pullover by Christoffers.
I love that color.
And this color is amazing. And what was more amazing is that it's named after Lady Danbury from Bridgerton.
I love
her. Love her. I'm like, can I grow old and be Lady Danbury? This is from Bumblebee Acres. They do amazing fandom colorways, and they had some beautiful Bridgerton colorways. And as soon as I saw, I was telling Greta earlier that in the 90s, my closet was half black, half burgundy. That was it. No other colors existed.
What more do you need?
Exactly. I mean, now I've expanded a little bit. But I still love me a good burgundy. Like, burgundy is,
this is the perfect time of year to be wearing burgundy anyway.
Yeah, I think so. It's warm and cozy, and this yarn is delicious. And the Felix pullover, there's also a cardigan that I've also made. It's a perfect beginner sweater pattern.
Okay.
Yeah, it goes by super easily. It's done on huge needles, so it goes by real quick. And the only decoration are the little eyelets on the shoulders.
Yeah.
That's it. You're done.
Well, whenever I get brave enough to try to do an actual garment, maybe that'll be the first one I try.
You totally can. I believe in you.
Someone does.
Stop.
Well, I wish I was working on anything new at this point. Still working on that darn blanket.
Well, you're getting ready to go to Emerald City Comic Con.
I am. I'm
oh my
so
goodness.
excited.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I'm going to be moderating a panel there. I know this is going to be old news by the time this episode actually airs, but I'm moderating a panel about women writers creating women and female identifying characters in science fiction and fantasy. so excited. It's going to be great. Two of my good friends, Genevieve Gornichek, who wrote The Witch's Heart, is going to be there, as well as J.S. Dewiz, who is a fellow Wisconsin writer who wrote The Last Watch. It's like two of the biggest debut books that came out this year. I'm going to be on the panel with them.
Oh, very exciting.
Cannot wait.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
And just to
exciting.
like be at a large Comic-Con. I have never been to Emerald City before. I'm so excited.
Oh, I
It's going to be
believe
great.
it. Yeah.
I'll make sure to bring pictures to post
please
when,
do.
when
and
I
if
get
you
back.
run into
Amy Carrero.
Opal.
Yes, Opal. That would be the dream.
That would be.
I just go and we're best friends for now.
Yeah,
And
of course you are.
if you see Amy Carrero on our next show, you know that my dreams have been answered. Call it. Well, I think that's our episode for today. Thanks everyone for joining us. Make sure you come back next week to talk about episode 4. Find out what the aftermath of Bertrand's death is like.
Yes.
And what we're working on in knitting that week.
Yes.
In the meantime, have a great one. Please make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. Leave us a bunch of comments. We love chatting with you all. And you can also find us on Instagram if that's more your speed, over at Knitters and Critters. Thank you, everyone. Bye.